And so to look at your enemies, like let's say you had some sort of weird prime minister like to dress up in fussy costumes. It would be super important to point that out a lot.
Well, just on principle, like every other group in the world has the right to its own homeland except white people. Like what?
Yeah.
Like tell me, just explain to me how that makes sense. Either no group has the right or every group has the right. Yep. It's really that simple. And if you want to say no group has the right, okay. You might even convince me. I don't know. I'm not a race guy, actually, by my temperament at all. I'd kind of like to ignore it. But as long as some groups have a right to self-determination, then every group has a right. Yep. It's that simple. Yes. And if there's a special carve-out where one group doesn't have a right, you have to explain to me why that group doesn't have that right.
Yep. Absolutely.
Is that fair?
No, it's absolutely fair. Well, I think South Africa is a...
What? I mean, what the hell is... Why are we playing along with this nonsense?
Yeah, it's this narrative has become this massive stream that is turned into rapids on a river that just pulls everyone along. And this narrative just says if you're white, then there's inherently something wrong with you.
It doesn't make any sense, and it's leading toward a really bad conclusion, obviously, as it has for every other group targeted in this way has really suffered in a bit, and there are a lot of them, okay? It's not, there are a lot of them.
Yep.
And it never ends up well. And I just don't know why we're playing along where you're not even allowed to say, oh, you haven't been. I don't care anymore, obviously. But again, either every group has a right to self-determination or no group does. You can't have this system where, some groups do or all groups do but one. No. It's all or nothing on this.
Yeah, well, I can guarantee...
Tell me how I'm wrong.
No. Well, I can guarantee you that when I get back home, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble for this interview.
Well, I don't know why, though. I mean, like, what's the counter argument? I don't really get it. Like, what is the counter argument? There's only one group on the entire face of the planet that doesn't have the right that every other group has. Like, tell me how.
It's
no,
really
I mean, like,
bizarre.
maybe there's a good answer. I'm waiting for it.
No, well, we don't know what the answer is.
So there is no answer, and so because there is no answer, the way that uniformity is maintained is just through threats, like shut up.
Yep.
Smash the like, hit subscribe, get your Canadian federal politics right here.
Research shows that an emotionally present male partner is the single biggest predictor of a happy, healthy marriage. For those reasons, today we are launching a national conversation on men and boys' health. The input we'll gather will shape Canada's first men and boy health strategy to be released later in 2026. Starting today, Canadians can visit canada.ca/healthymen to learn more about the conversation. And beginning March 2nd, all Canadians can submit feedback through an online form on the same website. The online form will remain open until June 1st. We invite everyone to join in on this important conversation.
These videos keep getting weirder and stranger.
Knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. In retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them from the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself. That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent and some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
$20 million gone. Nike out. Lexus out. Corona out. All because Billie Eilish stood on a stage at the Grammys and said something so spectacularly stupid that even her own record label must have spat out their champagne. But here's what makes this story absolutely fascinating. She's not backing down. Her brother's not backing down. They're both pointing fingers at everyone except themselves. And now she can't even film a commercial without crowds booing her off set. I'm going to walk you through exactly what happened, why it matters, and why this is about far more than just one pop star having a meltdown. This is about consequence culture finally working both ways. Let's get into it. Right, the Grammys, February 2026, CBS broadcasting live to millions. Billie Eilish walks up to accept her award. I don't even remember what category, doesn't matter. And instead of saying thank you like a normal human being, she launches into this. There is no such thing as illegal immigration on stolen land, full stop. That's what she said on live television in front of the entire industry. Now, I want you to think about that statement for a second. Really think about it. She's essentially saying that America has no right to enforce its borders because the land was taken from Native Americans, which fine, that's a historical fact. Nobody disputes that. But what she's implying is that therefore any immigration restriction is illegitimate. Do you see the problem there? By that logic, Britain shouldn't have borders because the Romans invaded, or the Saxons, or the Normans. Australia shouldn't exist as a nation. Canada shouldn't have borders. New Zealand, Argentina, Brazil, the entire new world just throws its doors open because of events from centuries ago. It's the kind of undergraduate philosophy you hear at 2 a.m. in a university dorm room from someone who's had too much cheap wine and just discovered Noam Chomsky. Except she said it on national television as a statement of profound moral certainty. The audience at the Grammys, and this tells you everything about that room, they applauded, they cheered, standing ovation from some corners. Because of course they did. These are people who haven't lived in the real world for decades. They live in gated communities. They have private security. They send their kids to private schools. Immigration policy doesn't affect their lives one bit. But for everyone watching at home, different story entirely. And you could see it on her face, this smug, self-satisfied expression, like she'd just ended world hunger, like she was the bravest person in the room. She wasn't. She was the stupidest. Now, if the story ended there, it would be bad enough, but it gets worse. Enter Phineas O'Connell. That's her brother. He's also her producer, writes most of her music. Apparently quite talented in his own right, though I wouldn't know because I don't listen to music where people whisper at me. Phineas decides, in his infinite wisdom, to defend his sister on social media.
The problem I think a lot of voters had is like they didn't even know if it was her. We didn't even know if Biden was president. We didn't even know if these were her talking points. And we felt that over the last 4 elections, Democrats, we felt that we didn't have a say on who could be president. We talk a lot about the Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy, but from the Democrat perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. And I think they need to have some accountability of that.
No argument here.
I donated for you. I mean, I wanted you to, like, 2016, I was like, this is going to happen. This guy's going to do it. And it felt like they stole it from me. And I'll be honest, it broke my heart when you supported him.
Look, but you have, in the world that I live in, you got a choice. And I mean, a lot of people, including my wife, agree with you. But, you know, you're down to a choice. Is it going to be Hillary Clinton or is it going to be Donald Trump? Not a great choice.
But it ended up being him anyway, so why don't we burn it down?
Well, because it's easy to say burning it down means that children are not going to have food to eat, that the schools will deteriorate, people will not have health care.
I got it.
And I'm an elected official. I got to represent the people.
That's fair.
And I can't turn my back on.
But then could we not also say, if ostensibly there hasn't been a fair primary for the Democrats since 2008, are they not also a threat to democracy? Yes. We often hear.
Fair enough. That is. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that point.
These videos keep getting weirder and stranger.
Yeah.
I don't think you're melodramatic at all. I think it's I mean, I don't want to be melodramatic, but it's almost like a death cult.
It's a death cult. No, that is exactly right. It's essentially the extinctionists. Like, it's in the limit. It is that they're propagating the extinction of humanity and civilization. And there's some people who are like most of the time it's implicit. They don't but sometimes it's explicit. Like, there was a guy on the front page of the New York Times who literally has the thing called the extinctionist movement, and he was quoted on the front page of the New York Times as saying, "There are 8 billion people in the world, but it would be better if there were none."
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, buddy, you can start with yourself.
Yeah. Does he have friends? That's what always fascinates me.
Well,
here he is.
That guy.
Oh, he looks like he's not long for this earth.
I mean, he's
Voluntary
not young.
human extinction movement. That's hilarious. I'd like to party with that dude. I would just like to
That's an explicit version of the death cult.
Yeah, maybe
the
live long
cult.
and die out.
It's not. The extinction is a word he uses.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's not it's literally a self-description.
Did they cover him
death
glowingly?
cult was in charge of social media.
Yeah.
And still largely is at Google and Facebook, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not in favor of human extinction. They are, and they can go to hell.
Well, that guy is.
Yeah, he can go to hell.
That guy seems silly. I would like to hang out with him, though. I would like to find out what makes him tick. I bet that guy is fascinating.
Well,
if you get him alone for a few days,
I'm in favor of. I'm pro-environment, but the in the limit, if you take environmentalism to an extreme, you start to view humanity as a plague on the surface of the earth, like a mold or something.
Right.
But this is actually false. The Earth could take probably 10 times the current civilization. The population you could 10x the population without destroying the rainforest. So the environmental movement, and I'm an environmentalist, has gone too far. They've gone way too far. If you start thinking that humans are bad, then the natural conclusion is humans should die out. Now, I'm headed to an international sort of AI safety conference later tonight, leaving in about 3 hours. I meet with the British Prime Minister, a number of other people. So you have to say, like, how could AI go wrong? Well, if AI gets programmed by the extinctionists, its utility function will be the extinction of humanity.
A society has a commonly agreed upon set of beliefs, rules, and laws that are the definition of the society itself. That's what a society is. So you can't have competing. You can't have, gay world and Sharia world living co-equally in a society. That does not happen. It will never happen. You have to pick one. Are we the Sharia society? Are we the party time gay rights society? Like, which one? And you can't face that reality. So you're just sort of snoozing along until the inevitable point where you're going to wake up and be like, my values have no bearing on what our society is anymore, because we've been invaded by other people with a totally different worldview, and they're now in charge. And that day is coming very soon for your country, and maybe it'll improve it. I don't think the UK could be a lot worse than it already is. It's this kind of disgusting, sad, self-hating, suicidal island that was once great. It kills me to see it as a half English person, but that day is coming. It will change. You will either decide to be Western or Eastern. That's a choice that we're all going to face. I don't want to face that choice, but it's being foisted upon us by the architects of mass migration. Sorry.
The superintelligence is where things could get really nutty. And we're already starting, and that's where like the doomsday scenarios, Terminator ones kind of come out of that group. So what happens if, all drivers go away? Well, every self-driving car is 4 full-time jobs, and every humanoid robot in a factory is 5 jobs, maybe 6, because those jobs you can work for maybe 7 hours as a just physical limitation. As humans, we're driving, you can work a 12-hour shift. And those are going to be here, folks. And before 2030, you're going to see Amazon, which has massively invested in this, replace all factory workers and all drivers. The idea that when you order something from Amazon, a human would touch it at any point in that supply chain is insane. It will be 100%, robotic, which means all of those workers are going away. Every Amazon worker, all those jobs, UPS gone, FedEx gone. All of those are going to be gone, and those companies will be more profitable. And when you order something, it's going to come faster and cheaper and better. And your Uber will be half as much, but somebody needs to retrain these people. And that's actually a very valid fear that technologists will tell somebody like you, don't worry about it. There'll just be more jobs created. Yeah. The question is, what happens to those people who get caught in the gap, right? And when we had this happen in the Industrial Revolution, that happened over 40 years, 50 years. And, the agricultural revolution, again, that was multi-decades. This one will happen in a decade. And so it'll be very different. And yeah, you should be concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't you want to talk to the journalist, man?
Okay, you know what? Jeffrey is innocent.
Jeffrey's innocent? Then why does he... How long have you known Jeffrey?
10 years.
You've known him for 10 years?
Yes.
And there's never been anything you never saw anything suspicious?
No.
Never nothing?
Never nothing. And how do you know Jeffrey? He's actually helped me go to college.
He helped you go to college? What did you do? What did you do?
With him that he helped you go to college?
What did he
Nothing. That's just who he is.
Just out of the goodness of his heart? You didn't have to do anything back?
No.
That's kind of strange, don't you think?
You know what? Jeffrey is germophobic.
Oh, is he? So is that why he sleeps with underage girls?
He doesn't sleep with them.
Oh, no, are you sure? Is that why he tells you to give them massages and all the rest of it?
He's never done
On the
that.
island with Bill Clinton?
Were you there?
With Bill Clinton? Is that why?
I'm sorry, but were you there to see that for yourself?
The flight logs show it.
I'm sorry, were you there to see that?
The flight logs show that Bill Clinton was there and he's taken a bunch of trips to Epstein Island, Orgy Island. What about it?
I'm sorry.
Last week, the Liberal government announced $2.3 billion in subsidies to buy electric vehicles. Electric vehicles manufactured in the United States will be eligible for this subsidy. It is inconceivable that the Liberal government would launch a multi-billion-dollar taxpayer-funded program that will directly benefit the American auto sector at a time that Trump's tariff war has cost Canada 5,000 jobs and counting in our auto sector. Will the Liberal government reverse course and stop American access to this $2.3 billion subsidy, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Indeed, good news. Last week we announced our auto strategy based on 2 objectives. First, making sure we support auto production here in Canada and supporting those who invest in us, so basically the companies that produce cars in Canada. And second, making sure that we embrace where the industry is, which is electrification, and where it's going. So, Mr. Speaker, apart from the Conservative, everybody has been in favor of it. Premier Ford, the unions, the industry, even environmentalists and consumer groups, why don't they get?
So as many Canadians are well aware, we're here discussing the Budget Implementation Act. It sounds rather innocuous, but what most Canadians wouldn't be aware of, it's a 600-page omnibus bill. Now, buried on page 300, Part 5, Division 5, Section 208, there's a provision that allows you as minister and other of your ministerial colleagues to exempt any individual, corporation, or organization from being subject to federal laws, with the exception of those that fall under the criminal code. From my understanding, those exemptions don't require parliamentary approval. They can last up to 6 years. And they're being justified using some vague terms like public interest, innovation, and competitiveness. So, Minister, do you believe that your government should be able to selectively suspend laws behind closed doors passed by Parliament?
Of course, this government believes in innovation. We believe in cutting red tape, but we also believe in the importance of parliamentary oversight. Well, that's exactly why you should come up with recommendation, and we'll make sure that we act in good faith and see what can be done to be able to create some important guardrails. I agree.
Why do you need the power to exempt any person or corporation from almost any federal law except for the criminal code to do your job?
Don't necessarily. It's probably a useful tool to have. I think those clauses that do find their way into legislation are often interpreted with a standard of reasonableness. But to be quite clear, we don't necessarily need them, but they're a useful tool to have.
Okay, so you don't need it. Would you be open to removing it then from this bill?
From C-15?
Yep.
No.
Why not?
Well, it's not my job to remove it, but it's a useful tool to have in the context, particularly if we're trying to get things done in a rapid fashion.
These videos keep getting weirder and stranger.
He was in an explosion. He was in the lobby and the third explosion, the whole lobby collapsed on us.
What was it like? What was it like?
Horrible. It's like hell. The whole building just collapsed on us inside the lobby.
Was that a secondary explosion?
Yes, it was.
That was the
Yeah, definitely secondary explosion. But we was inside waiting to go upstairs. And on our way upstairs, the whole fucking plane blew. And we just collapsed on everybody inside the lobby.
So much of the first tower coming down, secondary?
I don't know about the first one, but I know the second one was terrible. Then there was a third one too after that one. Yes. Everybody was inside the building waiting to go upstairs. And they just let loose. Everything just let loose inside the building.
So what you tell me is that there was a plane or whatever hit the building in the secondary explosion?
There was like 3 explosions after that. We came in after the fire. We came when the fire was going on already. We was in the staging area inside the building, waiting to go upstairs. The whole lobby collapsed on the lobby inside.
Just AM after that?
Just man, everybody trying to work their way out.
Trying to help all the brothers get out.
A lot of people trapped inside.
I was sitting in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. We watched the first explosion. As we watched the building, so a black, very large airplane fly right into the second building. It came out of the south, right in front of our eyes. Just, it was so surreal, like a movie set. Second and third explosions also, right? We were in the building for the third one, and it collapsed. It was on this drive here for the other one.
People don't understand. There may be more. Any one of these fucking buildings could blow up. This ain't done yet.
This is on top of this. That could be no worse than this. Could be nothing no more than that. You're in the building trying to help people, and it's exploding on the inside of the building.
And so to look at your enemies, like let's say you had some sort of weird prime minister like to dress up in fussy costumes. It would be super important to point that out a lot, like relentlessly. Somebody told me last night that his base, I was asked, we had this wonderful dinner last night with 2 of the most famous people in Canada, probably the 2 most famous people, Lord Black and my friend Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I asked, like, is there anyone in the country who supports this guy? He's so, I mean, I know him only, I've never met him, I only know him through television. I know his cousin Gavin Newsom pretty well, but I don't know him. Is there anyone who takes him seriously?
$50 to $55 million that you've loaned, as you would say, to the Beverly, Massachusetts Highland Electric Fleets. You've also loaned $400 million to Quebec Bus Carriers Foundation, and you've loaned $15 million to Autobus Seguin. But there's more than $1 billion that's gone out to these zero-emission buses, and I suppose some of those may include line electric buses as well. The ones that definitely include line electric buses, would you say that those loans are a write-off at this point in time, including the one to the U.S. company?
Madam Chair, if I may, maybe just to address the question and also addresses the member's question at the tail end of his last comments. To be very clear, every one of our investments are in or partly in Canada, meaning if it was a bridge between Canada and the U.S., we could invest in that. But it must be infrastructure that's in Canada, and it must be infrastructure that benefits Canadians. Now, the owners of that, the companies that deliver that. We live in a global world. There are companies that come from around the world and do business in Canada, and as Canadians, we benefit that. But our loans benefit Canadians and Canadians only. So in the earlier question, they could not use the loan, for instance, to buy buses that would be on the roads in the U.S. They must benefit Canadians. That's the purpose of our financing is and always is.
Is it a write-off?
Madam Chair, to the second part of the question, sorry, no our financial statements are very clear about what are our current financial write-offs, but I can confirm that most of our investments in electric fleets continue to be viable investments, and we intend to collect.
To the president of the Canadian Infrastructure Bank that Lion Electric went bankrupt. So any money that was going into their taxpayer money that funded the acquisition of these vehicles is effectively nil at this point in time. And I'll pivot here, if you don't mind, Mr. Corey, because there was actually an arrangement made behind the scenes with Lion Electric Vehicles, which included a bank syndication with Bank of Montreal. BMO is one of the signatories on there. Interesting there is that BMO, Bank of Montreal, has an arrangement with Export Development Corporation to make sure that they never have to suffer any losses on their loan portfolio. So effectively, it is the people of Canada underwriting bad investments that are facilitated by your organization without any oversight. Is this proper due diligence on your organization's part, or are you part of the effort to kind of work through the capital here and make sure Canadian taxpayers are always at risk in these programs?
Madam Chair, I'm not sure I fully understand the question, but I'll say this. We conduct on every loan full due diligence. Our borrowers, in the case of electric fleets, our borrowers who are the fleet operators sign on to acquiring electric buses, decarbonizing their transportation, and paying us back out of the operating savings that come in reduction in fuel use, reduction of maintenance. And so that's the due diligence we focus on and do on each and every investment.
You've written, it looks like you've written off $50 million of a loan to a U.S. entity that was going to look at doing some business in Canada. And you've written off what might be $400 million for another investment in electric vehicles in Quebec and another $15 million, and probably more of this whole fleet, zero electric buses concept that you've lent towards. The beneficiaries of this, of course, are a bunch of intermediaries. And with Lion Electric, as we've clearly shown, the beneficiaries were the insiders. Now, is one of those insiders André-Lise Matteau on your board?
Madam Chair, I have, first of all, just to dispute the very premise of the question, I've never said anything. Your comments about what we have or haven't written off are not matched. So just to be clear, those are not all projects we've written off.
Bankrupt company, you haven't written off your investment in them?
We don't have an investment in that company. I think, Madam Chair, I've been quite clear. I don't have a loan to them. So the premise of the question doesn't feel...
Loan to the people that were arranging to buy those vehicles?
We have a loan to people arranging to buy non-emitting buses and put them on the road. And by the way, this is an important point. The way our loans all work, when we sign a financing agreement, the agreement is that they can draw money as they actually make progress, as buses are on the road. Or to pick a different example, if I made a loan to someone doing broadband, I may make a $100 million finance agreement. They only draw money as they build the infrastructure.
What's the write-off?
Our financial statements are very clear on what write-offs we do and don't take. I'm happy to provide those to the committee if you wish.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I just ask a general question about investing in China? There's a ton of experts we've spoken to in the business community in Canada who are gun shy about investing in China. Joint ventures aren't such. It's China win. It's not win-win. We're using burner phones for the first time when we covered this because China spies on journalists and businessmen. China intercepts communications. Is China really the right kind of partner for Canadian industry?
Listen, we've been clear-eyed. We're eyes wide open. We know this.
Thank you, Minister. My first question for you is, you recently made a statement after becoming minister that part of the responsibility of CBC is to foster what you called, quote, social cohesion. Can you explain for the committee what you meant by social cohesion? The reason I ask is because experienced journalists have stated that these words, this term, is often used by the People's Republic of China to mean state control and zero tolerance for challenges. That seems counter to the values that we hold here in Canada, and so I'm curious as to what you meant by social cohesion.
I think in an age that we're all living through of intense disinformation, there is less social cohesion as falsities are propagated through media sources, both legitimate and illegitimate, integral to a healthy democracy. Indeed, the fourth pillar of our democracy is a healthy media ecosystem that exercises rightly its freedom of expression. Again, integral to that is a state-financed public media that is the CBC or Radio-Canada, not state-controlled. Indeed, the CBC's mandate is one that is ferociously independent, and we should all defend that, whether they're saying good or bad things about us. So when there is a lack of support for a public broadcaster, I think that contributes to the spread of disinformation, and social cohesion is therefore affected. It's not about any sort of command and control of the media system that you may see in other countries, but indeed in part of an integral to a healthy democracy.
So what is social cohesion?
Social cohesion is the ability for people to trust their institutions, to not feel like society is falling apart, that we are all living together and able to exercise the rights, in the case of Canada, that define us, freedom as enshrined in the Charter of Rights. I mean, I could go on beyond the time allotted for you to discuss this, Ms. Thomas, but I think we both agree as to what it is.
I didn't get to choose this place. I was born here, and I can almost take it for granted. And anytime I meet people who got to make the deliberate choice, whose parents chose Canada, I'm jealous, because I think being able to choose it rather than being Canadian by default is an amazing statement of attachment to Canada, which is why I always sort of laugh whenever you see people who are, not many of them, but intolerant or think, oh yeah, no, go back to your own country. Well, no, you chose this country. This is your country more than it is for others, because we take it for granted, we default into this place. And I think understanding that power of building a country that is made of people who chose, or whose ancestors chose, to build a new life here is really, really exciting.
Thank you, Minister. You are the Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Do you believe that religion is an integral part of Canadian culture and identity?
Absolutely.
So you obviously know where this is going. On October 30th, when you were the chair of the Justice Committee, you spoke about how there is, quote, clear hatred in some verses of the Bible and Torah, and that prosecutors should be able to have the discretion to lay charges if someone invokes a particular scripture that you find objectionable. So how are you standing up for the various diverse communities, faith communities in particular, that you extolled in your opening statement, when you believe that sincerely held religious beliefs should attract prosecution?
I believe anyone should be able to freely read the Bible, Torah, Quran, or any religious scripture. It's a guarantee in the Charter that I will defend as well as you will.
Unless it's a verse that you don't like.
What I said, and you were there, no, I'm glad to answer that.
Mr. McDonald?
This has nothing to do with the budget or the BIA Act. He's line of question.
Thank you.
It stems from comments made in his opening statement, Madam Chair.
Excuse me. Yeah, I didn't recognize you, Mr. Lawton. Mr. McDonald, it's not a point of order. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawton. You can continue to have the floor, but I would ask that you be recognized before you take it. Thank you.
I think that I don't think religious scripture should be used as a defense for a hate crime. If someone publicly says that they want to kill all the gays and that they are relying on a passage in Leviticus, they should be prosecuted. Hard stop. And I'm a Christian. I believe firmly that that person should be prosecuted.
And that would not be a good faith usage of Scripture.
That's your debate, but sometimes prosecutors may be
prevented from laying charges because there's some hesitation. I think it needs to be clear in the law, and I think you would agree with it, and any reasonable person would as well.
You mentioned back in December, I think if you talk to people of faith and even religious leaders, they would see that this is really something that makes sense regarding removing those religious speech protections from the criminal code. I have spoken to people of faith and religious leaders, and Bill C-9 and the removal of the religious defense has been denounced by the Primate of the Anglican Church of Canada, the United Church of Canada, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, the Rabbinical Council of Toronto, the Conference of Canadian Catholic Bishops, the Evangelical Fellowship of Canada. Why do you believe that you know more than these faith groups about religious freedom and protections for religion in Canada?
As a Protestant, I rely on my relationship with Jesus and my reading of the Bible. I believe ministers can be guides. So I think I stand on an equal footing. I think you would agree with me with that. But if you really want to protect religious institutions, you will talk to Pierre Poilievre, Parliament's only temporary foreign worker, and have him pass C-9 to protect religious institutions.
Your government has signaled that the Online Harms Act, which has been twice tabled and twice not passed, will be returning. This is a bill that, among other things, would, in its previous incarnations, reinstitute Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act, which allows for the Human Rights Code to go after what the government deems online hate speech. Will that be a part of the forthcoming Online Harms Act?
Look, if you want my opinion on it.
Well, I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm asking for your insight as the minister.
Well, I'm not going to speak about deliberations that are in front of Cabinet. If you want my opinion, there are issues in and around freedom of expression about any act that would be presented into Parliament to keep Canadians and particularly children safe from online harms. And I don't think it's necessary to have a private recourse regime under the Canadian Human Rights Act.
We have a bill that's before this House of Commons already from Michelle Rempel-Garner, I believe C-216. I might be wrong about the number, but it creates a duty of care for tech companies to deal with very legitimate online harms against children, against sexual victims. Why not support that?
I'm not unsupportive of it, frankly. I spoke to your colleague, Ms. Thomas, recently about that. I haven't yet, in fairness, to speak to Ms. Rempel about it. I think the motive behind it and the purpose behind it is laudable. I think in the articulation of it, it properly should be introduced by the government and supported by one, but willing to work with her on the details.
Will the forthcoming Online Harms Act be a bill that you put forward, or will it be a justice bill?
It's TBD.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions. They're going to be brief. I appreciate that it's a complex topic, but I'd ask if you could keep your responses equally brief. The first thing I'd like to just touch on with you is the Canada Revenue Agency developed Charlie the chatbot, and Charlie the chatbot did a really bad job. And his reliability, or its reliability, certainly did not meet minimum service standards or the expectations of Canadians who have to get it right to the penny when they deal with CRA, but the chatbot didn't even get it right half of the time with the advice it gave. Do you have are you drawing from this lessons that you are going to apply to the use of AI in its rollout across the federal public service or the government?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. Yeah, I'm obviously aware of how our government is scaling the use of AI across departments and agency. There is an effort to drive transformation across government and support a more efficient public service so we can serve Canadians better. And of course, AI is meant to serve public servants, and we have CanChat and GC Translate. I will say that the Treasury Board Secretariat has a public register of hundreds of government uses of AI. When something is not functioning as it should, obviously there are specific measures to make sure that action is taken to serve Canadians more accurately and in a better fashion. Absolutely.
So Minister, but just for clarity, this cost taxpayers $18 million, and 66% of the time it provided incorrect information to tax filers. Acceptable, unacceptable?
I think every moment the government serves Canadians, Canadians demand the highest standards and the highest form of efficiency. And I will say I know the Treasury Board's PSPC has rigorous regulations and rules about how they procure and the standards, and absolutely meeting the high standards is the expectation of Canadians in any department. And so, working to improve that is core.
Minister, you'd say 34% accuracy is not acceptable.
I would say the goal for any use of any technology is to make sure that we serve Canadians with the highest accuracy level and the highest efficiency.
I wouldn't say that was the most efficient way to say that getting the answer right 34% of the time is unacceptable. And you can have the opportunity to say that in your next response. We've seen that the government is going to take a move to reduce the access to information for Canadians by limiting the retention of instant messages and email messages. We saw in the ArriveCAN scandal that key actors simply just deleted files. We've seen that departments are taking years to respond to access to information requests. What commitment or guarantee are you prepared to make that all of the audit trails and that in fact audit trails will be part of the integration and rollout of any AI systems in the government? Are you prepared to make that commitment today?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, I want to say two things about how both the Treasury Board functions under this and Mr. Ali functions under this. All procurement and all the regulations are followed rigorously to make sure there's transparency and accountability in our communication and in how these any procurement and any use of this technology will function.
So, for example, how much time do I have, Chair? 2 minutes. For example, when an email is sent, there should be the opportunity for access to information requests to be made. But that happens from person to person. If there's simply work product being generated through an AI system, there's no paper trail of how we got to the end result. And if the end result is simply printed out on a piece of paper at an office, but the audit trail is disappeared instantly or after 15 days, obviously that doesn't provide the level of transparency that Canadians would look to have and look to get. For example, by either getting the information through an ATIP, through an inquiry of ministry, or by asking individuals to appear before parliamentary committees. We don't have that option with AI, unless that is that you would be responsible personally for coming to see us every time we had a question about an AI system.
Let's make sure. Again, I appreciate the question. Just a couple to make sure that we're clear, all records of business value are retained. Okay? Obviously, records that are transitory are not retained. They're transitory in nature. We follow all the rules in terms of our record keeping. And when we're making a decision about procurement, as Treasury Board will, we're following the guiding principles across all of that. I will say that Treasury Board work does have some principles on the automated decision system making and guides for generative AI usage.
Minister,
so there are guidelines on that.
Minister, can we expect new rules and public consultations on what that's going to look like with respect to deepfakes and how we're going to protect children from the use of sexually exploitive and non-consensual image creation through AI systems?
Need a very, very quick response.
It's an excellent question. Absolutely. We already have a bill that's tabled by the Justice Minister because we believe that would make it a criminal offense to share sexually explicit deepfake imagery. We'd love to have support on that, and I have lots more to say about deepfakes.
Commissioner Dufresne, the Prime Minister recently struck a deal with Xi Jinping to allow for the import of 50,000 Chinese EVs annually. He did so notwithstanding serious concerns regarding national security, regarding privacy concerns, including audio and video surveillance, as well as tracking people's movements. Premier Ford has characterized these EVs as spy vehicles. Others have also characterized them in the same way. The U.S. has a functional ban on vehicles that contain Chinese software. So in the face of these very serious concerns that go directly to the privacy of Canadians, did the Prime Minister's office or the Minister of International Trade or anyone in the government consult with your office about these concerns before striking a deal with Xi Jinping?
We were not consulted about this trade effort with China.
During the ArriveCan scandal, we heard variations of from public servants that, quote, we can't find the records. And when records disappear, this stops being an administrative issue and becomes an accountability issue. And so what we're looking at now is this question about business value versus what's transitory. Do you think that that approach works? Yes or no?
Yes.
And do you worry that when employees are being asked to flag what is a business value within 15 days, that there's a risk that the records won't be found, won't be easily found, and will more often lead to results in access to information requests that say no record exists, when in fact that, perhaps not through malice, but just simply through the act of trying to keep records, that it's going to make it harder for accountability to be brought to bear?
This is why I said that retention policies and proper information management policies are a good thing, but they have to be accompanied by training with strict directives. And as you just pointed out, access without a record, if there's no records, there's no access. But at the end of the day, we do, and I do support proper management of information. The uses of teams to make important decisions should not be allowed or encouraged. There's way to do that, and it would be the same thing as saying we cannot have meetings anymore or oral discussions. Those happen, but you have to have somebody at the end of the day, at the end of the meeting, taking minutes, explaining what was discussed, what were the decisions made, and how, and based on what.
Is there a greater risk to the integrity of the system and Canadians' confidence in their institutions? Look, at the start of the ArriveCan scandal, we were told there's absolutely nothing to see here. It turns out that it was the tip of the iceberg on massive contracting problems, and ultimately, in some cases, criminal charges were pursued. We have civil action being taken to recover the money. But we were only able to do that by piecing together records. So I haven't been presented with a compelling reason why these chats need to disappear after 15 days, but I can see a pretty serious downside with not having access to records if a decision is made or direction is given or a discussion is had that later would have value in having that accountability.
Just so you know, that when I was saying earlier, when there's an access request, there has to be a mechanism to stop the deletion of any records, because those records, whether they are transitory or not, they are, if they are responsive to the access request, they should be treated and processed. Whether people are using Teams for other reason than just what they're supposed to be used, and it's like to quick conversation, not business-related activities. This is a matter of where the head of the institution needs to be very clear how these messages has to be used and managed and properly saved.
What would your recommendation be as a minimum retention period for Teams chats that include decisions or direction?
I think this is something that you need to talk to the library and archives. They're the one responsible for setting some of the rules. And I again, it really depends on the type of activities that are being used for these type of communications.
So what metric do you track that proves that bad records management is hurting requesters? And are you able to tell us how that metric has changed over the past year?
Well, the fact that we're using now electronic documents, back and forth emails, people are not, even inboxes should be cleaned by people. There shouldn't be 5 people keeping the full communication of one email. There should be somebody responsible at the end of the day to save those emails in a proper folder, proper repository. It shouldn't be kept in inboxes in everyone's, and that's one of the biggest issues that we have.
I have just under a minute left. So you have binding order powers, which I think is critical for any commissioners. This is crucial. Are institutions complying on time and more often with you now? And how often are you seeing that your orders are ignored without going to court?
It has happened a couple times. I think we have 8 mandamus that was presented in court to force an order to be respected. In the last year, I only had to do it once. And it's now, I think the message has gone through. Like, people are not ignoring my orders anymore.
Thank you.
These videos keep getting weirder and stranger.
Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, Canada, joins me now. All right, Premier. By the way, I loved your brother. We did an interview. Great guy. Yeah, what's your problem with the United States absorbing Canada?
Well, first of all, Jesse, you know, I love the U.S. I love Americans, and I get it. You know, President-elect Trump is a real estate tycoon. He's made billions, but that property's not for sale. As simple as that. But I have a better idea, Jesse. Why don't we create Fortress Amcan and make sure it's the richest, wealthiest, most prosperous jurisdiction in 2 countries anywhere in the world? We have the critical minerals, we have the energy, we have the electricity that America needs. And there's only one place I'd want to sell it to, and that's the U.S.
Well, you could sell it to us, or we could all own it together, and that's a choice we can all make together. You say this isn't for sale, but everything has a price. The $1 Million Man says that. Can you think of this more as a merger instead of an acquisition? Don't think about being taken over. Think about this as a coming together.
Yeah, we can come together on a great trade deal. We're 2 greatest countries in the world. Do you know what the problem is? I've lived 20 years in the U.S. Matter of fact, I spent a lot of time in Philly, where you did, for 7 years, and in Chicago. There's not one American that I speak to out there, Jesse, that has a problem with Canada. Do you know what the problem is? China's the problem. China is shipping in cheap parts into Mexico, and then Mexico slapping a Made in Mexico sticker on, shipping it up through the U.S. and Canada, costing American and Canadian jobs. Like, Mexico has to make a choice, Jesse.
I get it.
They're either with Beijing or Washington.
No, I get it. I get it. You say that Americans don't have a problem with Canadians, and we don't. But it seems like you have a problem with us. Because if I were a citizen of another country and I was a neighbor of the United States, I would consider it a privilege to be taken over by the United States of America. That's what everybody else in the world wants, American citizenship. For some reason, that's repellent to you Canadians. And I find that personally offensive, Premier.
Well, you know something, Jesse? We're proud Canadians, just like there's proud Americans. And if we join together and take on the world with a great trade deal between us, I think that'd be fabulous. No one could stop us.
Well, that's the point, because Trump says we're paying to protect Canada a lot, but Canada's ripping America off on trade. So why don't we just redraw the map to make it fair?
So we're the largest trading partner in the world, 1.3 trillion. So the only area that we have a little upper hand is
Mexico has you beat, but you're a close second. Go ahead.
So we ship down 4.3 million barrels a day down to the U.S. Ontario is the 3rd largest trading partner in the world, with $500 billion of two-way trade split down the middle. Jesse, 9 million Americans wake up every single morning to produce products for Ontario alone. I love the Americans, and I look forward to working with the new administration.
All right, so this might.
These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
I think it is extraordinary that Mark Carney has become the Prime Minister of Canada. He did a terrible job in Britain.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary.
And our party stands for the right of freedom of expression and freedom of religion, which is under attack by this particular poison pill block amendment.
In Canadian federal politics, the Canucks are represented by two separate yet unequal groups, the globalists who sold out and the opposition trying to salvage a country. These are their stories.
Now, Mr. Fortin tried to frame this as a philosophical, intellectual divide between the Bloc's position and the Conservative position. And I think indirectly painted the picture that it was the Liberals who are the moderates here, that it's the Liberals who are trying to bridge this philosophical difference between the two parties. And I've said this numerous times, and I think it bears mentioning again. And I'm going to turn to the officials for greater clarification on this. Bill C-9 was introduced by Justice Fraser, Minister of Justice Fraser, in the fall of 2025. Nowhere in the draft of the bill was there any reference to the Liberal government seeking the removal of a 56-year-old defense under Section 319. And I say that, I've said it numerous times, because it's important for all the stakeholders and Canadians who are watching this, that the Liberals are by no means the saviors here trying to come up with an agreement that everybody can live with. The Liberals never intended, when this bill was drafted, when this bill was presented, when this bill was debated at first reading and at second reading, and when this bill was actually studied, and I don't know how many meetings, Mr. Chair, we've had in terms of this particular bill and how many witnesses were called, not one specific expert witness or subject matter expert on the issue of the removal of this decade-old defense was ever called. Now, Mr. Fortin, as he had every right to do, made it abundantly clear that this was ultimately his position and used pretty much every opportunity to expand upon his concerns about the removal of the defense and to get some evidence from some of the witnesses. I don't recall any Liberal member on this Justice Committee ever expressing or displaying any support for Monsieur Fortin's line of questioning to remove this religious defense. Until late in the fall, when we as parliamentarians received the news that one weekend that the Liberal government, ostensibly by Sean Fraser, our Justice Minister, had decided to create a backroom deal with the Bloc Québécois that in exchange for the Bloc to support passage of Bill C-9 at all stages, that they would now, some, 6, 7 months removed, now saw merit in removing a 56-year-old defense. So with that as the backdrop, officials, please help me with this. Were both of you ladies involved with all the stakeholder consultations that Sean Fraser engaged in terms of formulating his position on how he would instruct you to draft the original Bill C-9? Were you part of those stakeholder discussions?
And engaged on some and through our own processes as well, where officials have direct engagement with stakeholders, but we are not party to all of the conversations that the Minister's office has with stakeholders.
If you know, if you don't, you don't. But when can you tell us that those discussions began?
And which discussions are you referring to specifically?
In terms of creating the anti-hate bill, Bill C-9.
So elements of it were part of the government's platform, including the proposed new offences for obstruction and intimidation. You'll also recall that other elements, like the proposed new hate crime offence, were part of former C-63, so have already been introduced. So work on this issue and these related issues have been ongoing at the department for several years.
But after the spring election in 2025, we as parliamentarians were led to believe, because of statements made by the Justice Minister and other ministers and the Prime Minister, that extensive discussions and meetings took place, which enabled the Justice Minister to deliver instructions to his department to create Bill C-9. How soon after the election, if you know, tell me please, how soon after the election did those meetings start? And when did they end? And when did you get instructions from Sean Fraser to create Bill C-9?
I can't recall the dates. I mean, I think what I can say is the department has long been working on these issues. Part of our role at the criminal law policy section is to be ready.
Just a reminder, gang, smash the like, hit subscribe. We work really hard at this stuff. Let's get back to the video.
When asked to prepare. And so I think to be helpful.
Give me exact dates?
I can't give you an exact date.
That's fine. I didn't think you would have that, and that's fair. But is it also fair to conclude that some of those stakeholder discussions, whether they be in person, whether they be Teams or Zoom, or simply exchanging correspondence, also included stakeholders from the province of Quebec?
Mr. Brock, sorry we interrupt, but we have a point of order.
Sorry, I have a point of order, Mr. Chair. Yeah. I don't know where the line of questioning is, how that is related to Mr. Lawton's sub-amendment. I think that we're still on Mr. Lawton's sub-amendment with regards to removing the last line of my for greater clarity, certainty clause. Is it not, Mr. Chair?
That's a fair point of order, Mr. Brock. Perhaps you could bring it back in. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
I've got lots to ask and lots to say.
Understand the pertinence of this questioning on consultation, and if officials were on consultation process, how that is related to Mr. Lawton's sub-amendment.
I'll get to that, but I'm not going to be put on a clock by you, Ms. Latanzio, or anyone else.
The back and forth, it's a fair point of order, Mr. Brock. We have to keep it relevant, so carry on.
Fair enough. So I think I formed the question before I was interrupted with a point of order. Any discussions whatsoever with stakeholders from the province of Quebec?
All specifically, I can say generally that the department, at the very least, does have broad opportunities to consult with all provinces and territories.
Okay. Do you recall, if you were party to these discussions or received information from the Justice Minister, of any stakeholders prior to the creation of Bill C-9 specifically asking for the removal of the religious defense as contemplated by the Block Amendment? Yes or no?
I think what I can say to that, Mr. Brock, in the interest of being helpful, is that we have been aware at the department for a long time that the good faith religious defense exception has been of concern for various stakeholders, and that there are various views on it. And I think to bring it back to your opening remarks, you will see that when, and you know this, that when C9 was introduced, as you indicated, it was not part of the proposed legislative package.
Because it wasn't a priority for the Liberal government at that time.
I can't speak to the priority. I can
Well,
tell
we
you it
can
wasn't
read
part of the
between the
C9
lines.
package.
If it were a priority, common sense would indicate that we would have saw some reference in Bill C9 from the Liberal government telegraphing a removal of the religious defense that the religious community in Canada has enjoyed for 56 years, a law that was created by a Liberal Prime Minister, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, in 1970.
Sorry, question? I'm just...
No, it's,
Okay.
I'm putting a statement on the record. Okay, I will ask questions, but I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you. Were you privy then to the change in direction that the Liberal government made in late fall of 2025 to agree with the Bloc that they would seek the removal of this defense? Were you consulted beforehand? And I'm not asking what the opinion was, so don't claim solicitor-client privilege, but were you asked to
Mr. Chair,
provide
point
a
of
legal
order.
opinion?
Mr. Brock, we have a point of order. Ms. Latanzio.
Mr. Chair, again, a question of relevance. We're not discussing, or the questions to officials
Okay, for relevancy,
are
I'm
not.
going to go back
Just
to the,
Mr.
to the
Brock,
sub-amendment from Andrew Lawton.
I'm going to hear the point of
Okay.
order, Mr. Brock. Go ahead, Ms. Latanzio.
Again, the questions or comments being made to officials or to this committee have nothing to do with Mr. Lawton's sub-amendment. And it is very clear what is happening before our eyes yet again. So, again, Mr. Chair, can we just keep the questions or the comment relevant on Mr. Lawton's sub-amendment?
Yeah, I think we all agree on that, and I agree that the individuals here are responsible for drafting based on instructions, Mr. Brock. So maybe we can keep that in mind.
Yes, well,
Thank you. Carry on.
officials, were you involved in the drafting of Ms. Latanzio's amendment?
Of the legislation, I said.
Of this particular amendment that we're discussing today? Sure, so
C9.
there's my relevancy link, okay? So you have been involved with drafting.
Bill
Not-
C9 is what I said, sorry.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then
Right.
we continue to provide support to our minister's
Absolutely,
office
so
as
there
requested
is
on
my
various
path
issues.
of relevancy, all right? So Ms. Latanzio can continue to interrupt for the next 15 minutes. I'm not going to prevent her from doing that. That's her absolute parliamentary right, but it's also my right to ask relevant questions. And relevancy is subjective because I have the right to ask questions that allow me to put a foundation before you before I actually talk about the merits or lack thereof of Ms. Latanzio's amendment.
Sorry, can I clarify? Was your answer that you were involved in drafting the legislation but not the amendment, correct?
To clarify, my answer was that we were involved in the drafting of the bill, and that following the introduction and to the committee study of the bill, we continue to provide support to the minister's office on the parliamentary process.
Support.
Thank you.
Okay? And by extension, support could also include aiding with the drafting and the specific language used in Ms. Latanzio's amendment known as 11.1 sub 1. Correct?
So I'm mindful now of maybe where we are on the line of solicitor-client privilege, and I am aware of
Asking
as well
you
as
for the
parliamentary
advice you
privilege.
gave.
So I think the only way I can answer that is just to continue to reiterate that we do support the minister's office in this area.
And the minister's office, by extension, includes his parliamentary secretary, correct?
I mean, presumably, but we don't see that distinction all the time. So our direct correspondence is with the minister's office.
I get that, but there's one parliamentary secretary assigned to every single minister of the government. I can understand why you wouldn't be consulting directly with Mr. Chang, without insulting you, Mr. Chang, with all due respect, or Ms. Dillon or Mr. Housefather. But it's obvious that Ms. Latanzio is an extension of the Minister of Justice. So she would be included. Whether you want to agree with that or not, I think it's just common sense that you would include a parliamentary secretary. So again, I don't want you to say this is governed by solicitor-client privilege, but were you asked to provide a legal opinion prior to the declaration that was leaked to the national press in late fall of 2025 that the Liberal government was now prepared to agree with Mr. Fortin's amendment to remove the defense? Were you consulted, yes or no, by the Minister of Justice?
Mr. Fortin has a point of order.
En tout respect, Monsieur le Président, je pense pas que la...
Respectfully, Mr. Chair, I don't think that our colleague Mr. Brock's questions are relevant to our...
We'll get back to the absurdity of Canadian federal politics in a moment. Just a friendly reminder to smash the like, hit subscribe. Please leave a comment below if you have something to share. Let's get back to the nutty video.
Debate. The questioning is going in the direction of undermining or questioning, rather, the credibility of a witness. And here we have officials of the Justice Department who are there to clarify points of law with regard to the legislation that is before us and the amendments thereof. So to ask them whether they took part in the positioning of the government in favor or against an amendment to the bill or a proposed amendment to the bill is not relevant. I agree that our colleague, Mr. Block, can ask questions about interpretation. I mean, Mr. Lawton, I'm sorry, I said Mr. Lawton, but in fact it was Mr. Bobber, but who was asking how should I interpret such a passage in the proposed amendment. That's fine, but to ask whether Ms. Wells participated in discussions with Mr. Fraser and Ms. Latanzio in October, and whether they said that they were possibly in agreement with an amendment that the Bloc proposed, I do not see a link of relevance. And it does not advance us in the text that we have before us.
Mr. Brock, I'm inclined to agree, with Mr. Fortin, rather. I mean, you can ask questions about their interpretation of the language that we're discussing. You can ask them questions about the drafting of the bill, but getting into discussions they had with the minister and, by extension, the parliamentary secretary, we're treading on dangerous ground, and it's, in my opinion, it's not relevant. So if you could sort of maintain those goalposts, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I can move on. So I listened very carefully to Mr. Housefather's intervention. And Mr. Housefather essentially said that there's a great deal of misinformation. And although he didn't point any fingers, I would certainly surmise he wasn't looking at his bench, certainly wasn't looking at Monsieur Fortin, but by elimination, he was probably accusing the members here of the Conservative Party of being the authors of that misinformation. And when challenged, when that comment came out, I raised the comment, and I'm sure Mr. Lawton did as well. We both suggested Mark Miller. And I recall Mr. Housefather saying something to the effect that Mr. Miller did not say what we were alleging that he did say. So I actually have the transcript of when Mr. Miller, who's now a minister of this Liberal government, was in your chair, Mr. Chair, and this was a question, a follow-up question after all the rounds had been exhausted to Mr. Derek Ross. And it reads as follows. I'll use Chair's prerogative to ask a follow-up question of Mr. Ross. As despicable and as unlawful as the statements made by Mr. Charkawi are and would be if they were stated again, we don't know why the prosecution chose not to continue with the charges. Perhaps this is to Mr. Fortin's point. I want to dig a bit into the concept of good faith, Mr. Ross. In Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Romans, there are passages with clear hatred towards, for examples, homosexuals. I don't understand how the concept of good faith could be invoked if someone were literally invoking a passage from, in this case, the Bible, though there are other religious texts that say the same thing. How do we somehow constitute this as being said in good faith? Clearly, there are situations in these texts where statements are hateful. They should not be used to invoke or be a defense. Now, here's the important passage. There should perhaps be discretion for prosecutors to press charges. I just want to understand what your notion of good faith is in this context, where there are passages in religious texts that are clearly hateful. That was, Mr. Chair, before the agreement was reached between the Liberal government and the Bloc Québécois that had absolutely nothing to do with what's in the best interests of this country, but what's actually in the best political interests of this Liberal Party and Liberal government. And Mark Miller, who is now a minister, sent a very strong message, sent a chill down the spine of every single religious leader, follower, and everybody in between in this country that this Liberal government has now declared war on freedom of expression and freedom of religion. That notwithstanding some of the passages that this minister referred to are over 2,000 years old, he invited prosecutors to press charges. So with all due respect, Mr. Housefather, that, sir, is misinformation that did not come from any Conservative member. That came from your colleague, your minister, Mark Miller. He lowered the gauntlet. He created the division that we are now seeing in this country. And all the peddling that this Liberal government is doing right now with language trying to placate Conservative members, trying to placate our party, trying to placate all religious leaders who have written every single member at this committee. I know that there are civil liberty groups who have jumped on the bandwagon and saying, how could this government wage war against our protected charter rights? Why attack? And to Mr. Housefather's point, I agree with him. That religious defense has not been successful at all. But does that give license to this government to actually take steps to remove a religious defense that has guided and protected good faith discussions, statements, and opinion across this country? Absolutely not. To the officials, when was the last time a federal government actually removed a statutory defense in the criminal code? You have any idea?
It does happen.
Yeah. You know how long ago it was?
If you know the answer,
Yeah.
please, you can remind me.
2015. Okay? And prior to that, '15 was the narrowing of the provocation defense. Prior to that, it was 1995, which was the limitation of the extreme intoxication defense. And even further prior to that, in 1983, the repeal of the marital rape exemption. This doesn't happen a lot, does it? In legal jurisprudence, that we actually take as a government legal steps to remove a statutory defense.
Nicola.
What are the three classifications of, or what are the classifications of firearms?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the member is that Bill 21 addresses a number of concerns that we've heard from all Canadians, but it is to ensure that
If he's getting past a note right now with them, without looking at that note, what are the classifications for firearms in Canada?
Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. Our guy Gary Ananda Sangre, he had a bad week last week. Oh my God, he got torn apart so many times by so many people. We're going to focus on two here. We're going to jump into it. This might be a multiple part video because so many people for so long were taking pieces off of our Minister of Public Safety. Tell me what you think about Gary in the comments, because he didn't have many answers in this one, and the Conservatives are relentless when you don't give answers.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Speaker. Does the Minister know the meaning of the word intifada?
Minister.
yes, Mr. Speaker, but I don't understand the relevance to
the Honourable Member.
This is an estimate. This is a committee of the whole. We're not here to talk about the bill. This is the Minister in charge of public safety, and I'm here to talk about the public safety of the Jewish community.
The Honourable Minister.
He's entitled to.
The Honourable Member.
The meaning of the word intifada.
The Honourable Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
What is it?
The Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is something that is quite well known. I don't plan to give you a perfect definition of it today.
The Honourable Member.
According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, it is armed rebellion. Does the Minister understand that when someone in Canada is chanting to globalize the intifada, they're calling for violence? Does he understand that or not?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the issue of anti-Semitism is something that impacts the Jewish community, and it is one where, as a government, we will address and we will.
The Honourable Member.
Very simple question. Does the Minister agree that the call for intifada is incitement to violence, yes or no?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't intend to respond to this particular question. The issue of the safety and security of the Jewish community is critically.
The Honourable Member.
Outrageous that this Liberal government, that this Minister is standing here and would not even acknowledge that for 18 months the chant intifada is chanted on Canada's streets, and would not recognize the basic definition of what the intifada is. I'll give you one more opportunity. Is the word intifada incitement to violence or not? One professional to another.
We'll just remind, through the chair, the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the safety and security of the Jewish community is incredibly important. I know they've been impacted greatly by a number of world events. My responsibility is to ensure their safety and security in Canada, and that's what I intend to do, Mr. Speaker.
For 18 months, Jewish Canadians have been subjected to incitement to violence without repercussions. What does the Minister have to say about that?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I intend to work closely with the Jewish community, as well as all communities impacted by hate, but particularly the Jewish community, in order to ensure that.
The Honourable Member.
And yet the Minister wouldn't even acknowledge that intifada is a call to violence. Do you agree that when Prime Minister accuses Israel of genocide on the campaign trail, he endangers the Jewish community?
The Chair, the Honourable Member, or the Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, my responsibility as the Minister of Public Safety is the security of all Canadians, including Jewish Canadians.
Located in North York is the Haya Mushka School for Jewish Girls. Has the Minister heard of that school?
Sir.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
That girls' school was shot at 3 times. Did the minister know that?
The Honourable Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member.
Speaker, is it acceptable that a Jewish girls' school got shot at 3 times?
The Honourable Minister.
Absolutely not, Mr. Speaker. No school should be shot at, particularly.
The Honourable Member.
Any school should not be shot at, not particularly. Speaker, then why hasn't this minister done anything about it?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in my 3 weeks in this portfolio, I've already reached out to a number of individuals from the Jewish community. I look forward to engaging leaders.
The Honourable Member.
Empty words is the only thing we hear from this government. I can't point to a single thing, Mr. Speaker, that the Liberals have done. Fire bombings of Jewish businesses and synagogues are now routine. And instead of standing up for the Jewish community and protecting us, this government has been thanked by Hamas twice. Why is the minister failing to protect the Jewish community?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, my role is to protect all Canadians, including members of the Jewish community. That's why, as part of the community security program, we have over $95 million in investments over 5 years to ensure
security of all communities and all institutions. Isn't that correct, Minister?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the issue of foreign affairs is outside my expertise, and I won't be able to answer that question.
Question, the Honourable Member.
Why does this government care to give more money to Gaza than it does to protect all communities and all institutions, Minister?
Sure.
Mr. Speaker, in my role as Minister of Public Safety, it's critically important that Canadians are protected, including Jewish Canadians.
Resuming debate, the Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
What are the classifications of firearms?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the member is that Bill 21 addresses a number of concerns that we've heard from all Canadians, but it is to ensure that
If he's getting passed a note right now with them, without looking at that note, what are the classifications for firearms in Canada? He's a public.
The Honourable Minister.
Restricted, non-restricted, and prohibited, Mr. Speaker.
Oh my goodness. Mr. Speaker, this is the public safety minister. Somebody passed him a note with those classifications. Does the public safety minister not know the classifications of firearms at the committee of the whole? Yes or no?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the questions before us today involves Bill 21, and I will advise this House that
the Honourable Member.
Of firearms has nothing to do with that. We're not talking about Bill C-21. We're talking about whether something so basic as how a firearm is classified is known by the public safety minister.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the issue is about Bill 21, and our intention is to ensure that law-abiding gun owners have the ability to hold on to their guns, at the same time taking...
the Honourable Member.
About law-abiding gun owners, but he doesn't even know what classification would be owned by somebody or not owned by somebody. How is that possible, Mr. Speaker?
Well, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the gun buyback program is in its early stages. We've already bought back 12,000 firearms.
Remember.
Which categories of firearms are getting bought back?
The Honourable Minister.
We look forward to buying back those from individuals. We're expecting about 180,000 units in total.
The Honourable Member.
What classifications of firearms are getting bought back?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the RCMP will be implementing the buyback program, and we look forward to ensuring...
The Honourable Member.
What classifications are getting bought back?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, from individuals who have weapons that they should not be having under Bill 21, we will be buying back.
The Honourable Member.
We're not going to get an answer here. Robbery with a firearm. This member voted to take away the mandatory minimum and allow house arrest. Does he regret that vote given gun violence?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Bill C-2 addresses the issues of guns. The guns that are coming into the country is a border bill, and I expect this member to support this bill.
Member.
Discharge with intent, drive-by shootings. You can now get house arrest, and there's no mandatory minimum. He voted for that. Does he regret that given gun violence today?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we are investing in the border $1.3 billion in investments that is meant to take guns off our streets.
This minister is okay for house arrest for people who use guns, who discharge guns. I'll give him one last opportunity to rebut that.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this member is against any form of gun control, yet he talks about the safety of Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Member.
Randall Hopley, somebody that the Premier of British Columbia, NDP Premier, says should not be let out again, kidnapped a 3-year-old. Will this minister enact legislation to assure that sex offenders like Randall Hopley can be dealt with and public can be safe? Yes or no?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is a matter for the for our correctional services. It was a release by them. It had nothing to do with the decision of the minister.
Member.
Decision of the minister not to legislate. We could legislate. This is a long-term offender. Will he work with Conservatives to introduce legislation? Yes or no?
Minister.
The first act of this government is to bring forward legislation, Bill C-2, one that will impact many crimes, and I'm hoping the member...
Honourable member.
Will he enact legislation that works to keep sex offenders in jail longer? Yes or no?
Honourable minister.
Mr. Speaker, it is not up to me to enact legislation, Mr. Speaker. It is up to this House.
Will he propose legislation to keep sex offenders in jail longer? Yes or no?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we have brought forward Bill C-2. It addresses a number of issues around the border that is a critical priority.
5 seconds.
Is a border bill. We're talking about sex offenders in jail. Will he keep them there?
Minister.
He's accurate, Mr. Speaker. It is a border bill, and we look forward to his quick passage. Thank you.
Resuming debate.
Oh, yeah. All right, gang, what do you think? Not a lot of answers in that one, right? Frank Caputo was getting pissed off. So was Roman Barber there. No doubt about that. Gary's going to have he's going to have a couple of tough weeks before summer kicks off. Anyhow, there'll be more of these. My name's Aaron, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you think about Canadian federal politics. Are we in trouble here in Canada? Maybe. We'll see. Again, thank you for watching the video. Catch